Most expats and passport bros have no idea what they're really getting into. I've been visiting the Philippines since 2012 and living in Asia full time since 2022. After spending time on forums and talking to other expats, I realized a lot of these guys, though not all, are either inexperienced with women or just plain foolish. Back in the US, we say it takes about 6 months to really get to know someone. And that's with someone who shares your language, culture, and background. But here, I've heard countless stories of guys flying to the Philippines to get engaged to a woman they've never met in person, just someone they chatted with online. Is that desperation or just complete lack of experience? If you live here long enough, you start to see the truth. Online dating is full of low hanging fruit. The best women, the ones with steady jobs, real hobbies, and some shyness, aren't online. But most guys don't see that. They end up marrying a former bar woman and think they hit the jackpot. This is what I've been saying since the start of these channels. Most men that come here have no experience or idea of what is going on. They lack social knowledge, social experience, and social skills to talk to women in their home country. And the women that have any interest in them are very heavy, very old, and very unappealing to any man. So when a smaller, thinner, even though not the best, but somewhat better than women in the US, at least physically, starts talking to these men, they completely lose their mind and do not know how to behave. Yes, we all want someone attractive, someone that has somewhat of a nice body so we can ejaculate. But the truth is, there's much more to a relationship. There's much more to a life with someone. There's much more to a partner, and that is what most men fail to recognize or even acknowledge, or they simply choose not to because it's easier this way to live in Fantasyland and in La La Land. SAH says, if you are white, tall, and even average body build, then it's easy pick up your typical plain Jane average gal. The uglier in the Philippine standards, the girls, the easier are there to pick up. I don't want to sound condescending, but the typical expat and Filipina couple is a tall white guy with a short and darker skinned girl. These are facts because to the tall white guy, that woman is attractive because she is much smaller than him. He feels in control, he feels dominant, he feels empowered, and he feels like he hit the jackpot, not recognizing that she comes from a very poor background, a very poor family financially, and of course, when it comes to education, social skills, even, of course, manners. But he does not care because he can show this girl back to his one or two friends in the US and tell them that he found the love of his life. And for the women, she hit the jackpot quite literally because he has that American dollar. He's got that money, and that's all that she cares about. Not because he's tall or what she tells you handsome. No, it's because you are an ATM, and that's how you are treated in the Philippines. Darker skin is actually a plus by American standards. No, that's not true. Men that say that it's because they're talking about tan skin, not dark skin from poverty and the sun. Of course, there's nothing wrong with one's skin color. I'm not trying to say that dark is bad, but dark is reality in Asia. Darker women typically come from poor backgrounds. What does that mean? That just means you have to spend more on them. If you find dark women attractive, that's your prerogative. If you find darker women sexy, by all means, go ahead. I do not care. I understand. However, there's a reason why dark is considered not attractive in Asia. It's because it represents a social class. It represents someone that comes from a poverty stricken family, financially destitute background. It just means simply lots of baggage. It means that you have to take care of these women financially. But since you're paying anyways, to you, that may not make a difference since the only type of women that you can get are poor women, which means dark women, because light skinned women typically do not care about Americans or foreigners. Why would you assume they are not online? Filipinos in general use Facebook for everything, even official work communication. Loads of Facebook dating groups as well. Not to mention, you could just be in normal Philippines groups and slip into the DMs. As for directly approaching in person or slipping into the DMs, it depends on the person. Some won't like it, some will, and most, in my opinion, won't really care either way. This is completely false. Women who are coming from middle class or upper class are not dating online because they have options, because they have groups of friends, because they have family members, they have classmates, workmates. They do not need to be online. Any woman online in the Philippines is typically there because they lack something. Either they lack financial support, they are looking for something. The ones that are online looking to just meet people or whatever, they're looking for people their own age. So yes, if you are 30 years old, that means you have a chance. Anything above that, you simply fall under the category of an ATM. Very few women actually want to see you if you are older because they find you attractive. It's only because of your money. That needs to be drilled into your head. Don't forget that and don't allow other people to tell you otherwise. If you feel like you found someone and you have a special someone, I promise you, you are lying to yourself or you are lying to me. Either she has a child already, either she doesn't have a job, either she comes from a poor family or background, or she simply isn't very attractive with not that many options if she's still in her 20s. Over 30 doesn't matter because she's already too old, which means the typical Filipino don't want anything to do with her. And most men that are at least in their 30s wouldn't want a 30-year-old woman. KJU Special Sauce says, you will have a better chances of meeting them in friend circles, hobby groups, and work. Or you can go to bars in Poblacion on the weekend and might find one. I'm talking about the higher end party bars. The problem with trying to meet them at bars is they usually aren't there to find a date. They'll be there with other friends, male and female. They will be watching each other's backs, and you will not have any easy time unless you pique their interest. I'd say it's still easiest and also less chaotic to meet them in friend circles and hobby groups in the end. Walking up to someone and talking to them highly depends on you as well, but I would consider it fairly risky. Although Filipinos are fairly friendly, we don't actually greet strangers when we are walking around like they do in the UK or Ireland. Coming up to a person might make them feel uncomfortable, especially if they're good looking and likely had to deal with it a lot through the years. If they look uncomfortable, don't push it. I do have to say, and I hope I don't offend anyone, that I think being approached by Caucasian men might give some Filipinos a fright. When I was growing up, there were a lot of news about Caucasian criminals prowling in the streets, and so it just became a part of life to avoid strangers, especially foreign ones. I never really thought about this much since, no, I will not continue reading this nonsense. This person sounds like they are in their 60s. It's not true. Nothing this person says makes any sense because the more attractive a woman is, the more open they are to speaking to someone. You may not be their type, but they'll never be shy because they have lots of experience. And also, these women at bars, yes, that's one thing I'll say, they're not really interested in meeting other men, especially foreign strangers walking up to them. But the truth is, in the Philippines, it's no different than any other country. You have to make sure that you at least put some effort in if you want decent women. With all this being said, it is still the easiest woman on earth to sleep with. But just because they are easy doesn't mean they are good. And you definitely take risks on sleeping with easy women. If she's so easy to come to your place immediately on the first day, imagine how many other men she's done that with. And why is she so eager to meet you? And also, if she's worth your time to actually be properly dated, taken out, and doing all the normal things to get to know someone, then why is she even with you? Why can't she find someone within her own circles, colleagues, workmates, classmates, or someone that's closer to her own age? The reason why most of these men have women that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years younger than themselves is because they are paying for it. They're directly supporting her family, her dreams, her store, her school, her whatever, until they pass away and leave behind a chunk of money for these women to properly start their lives and actually support their dreams by living the life they want to live on your money. That's why you see so many of these women in restaurants in broad daylight at 2 p.m. having 2,000 peso meals when they have no jobs. Who do you think gave them that money? How can they afford to eat a meal that costs them a week worth of pay? That's the truth and reality of this country. And if the person is rich, trust me, it will not be talking to you. They have no interest in foreigners because it's actually looked down on. I will say one last thing. Perhaps you love this girl. Perhaps you love your wife and girlfriend. Perhaps you don't care what a word I say, but that does not make anything I say any less true or factual. Because don't forget, you can spend time enough with any person and get to love them over time and see them for the beauty they might possess within themselves. However, in reality, if you step back and look at it from a normal person's perspective, there's definitely something going on that you are either too ashamed to, too embarrassed to, or simply don't care to admit. Maybe you don't care that you're paying for a family. Maybe you don't care that you built her a house. Maybe you don't care that you started a sorry store for her, bought a motorbike for her brother, and sent all of her sisters to college, and they still disrespect you because to you, you still love her. But we all know the truth and the facts. I know many of you don't like hearing this, but that's just the way it is. That's the Philippines truth. This is today's catfish. How do you go from this to this? The best comment is from Black Wonder Philippines. Not sure if he's telling the whole story, but if it's even halfway true, it doesn't surprise me. People here will scam their own mother. Makes me regret moving here. I avoid bars and clubs here. Thanks for the video and keep up the good work. This is about the story of the man who got sucker punched at a bar in BGC or Makati, I can't quite remember, called Secret Door. The actual story came out later saying this person was intoxicated and was causing disturbances. That's somewhere to be found online, if you are curious. There is no worst comment from yesterday. Thanks for watching. God bless.